Let's start with a round of introductions. My name is Anna, and I'm with Games Factory Talents. I've had interviews with many of you during the past 2 months. If you haven't heard about us, we're a Finland-based recruiting company who is taking on a challenge of finding tech geniuses and bringing them to Finland. The privilege is all completely mine today, this afternoon. I'm having Petteri, Magnus, Nisha, and Ryan, unexpectedly. So would you like guys to introduce yourself with a little bit of emphasis, maybe how, like, up to you what you do, or maybe how you came to talent, because most of you are related to talent.
Sure.
Yeah. So Petteri, let's start
Okay.
with you.
Yeah. So again, I'm Petteri Tuomaa, and I've been working at Vario since this year's February. Previously, I was working actually on Remedy Entertainment, and that's where I actually got to have my first initial impressions about Games Factory. And here I got to actually start working together. In recruitment, I've been working now for 5 years. Previously, also some IT consulting business, and now for this international recruitment side, I've been working for 3 years, and I really enjoy bringing together all the best talent all around the world, be that New Zealand, Japan, or Brazil or Ukraine. So it's really cool to get to meet new people and see different cultures and get outside of my own comfort zone. And sometimes I've also visited Malmö and came out alive, so it's not so bad in Sweden either.
Thank you, Magnus.
So my name is Magnus Lindfors. I work for Musician. So I've been in the talent acquisition industry doing recruitment for the last 7 years. Started off what we in-house recruiters call the dark side, so through the agency world, and then doing some freelance stuff. Then I used, previously before Musician, I worked at Unity, doing recruitment for Unity, to see that company kind of grow quite quickly, quite fast. Was quite interesting. So 2 years over at Unity, and then I moved over to Musician and bring more musicality to the world, to everyone. So yeah, recruitment, HR, that's my thing.
Thank you, Magnus. Nisha.
Yep, complete foreigner over here. I'm from India. I've been living in Finland for about 3 years, and my experience in HR is almost 8 years. So probably the oldest over here, at least in terms of the industry. Okay, there's one coming. So yeah, and I have been in the dark side, and also the white one, the brighter one, and working at Helsinki Business Hub right now as a talent advisor. And yeah, my job is attracting talent to Finland. So if you want to talk anything about how to come to Finland and what to do there, I can answer those questions.
Thank you, Nisha. Ryan.
So yes, my name is Ryan Savage. Originally from California, been in Finland for about 4 years this time around. And my background is in HR in recruiting for the past probably 14 years now.
Ooh.
And
That's right.
Yeah. And yeah, so I was previously head of talent at Musician, and I'm now consulting with a variety of Finnish startups in the HR and recruiting sphere. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Great stuff. Welcome. All right, now we're trying to discuss, but maybe how should we do it if people already don't want to hear about it? Just boo and say let's move on. Okay, so the happiest countries in the world. Many people actually in their answering to my first question, why would they like to relocate to Finland? They said that they heard that Finland is the happiest country in the world. So maybe you say what makes you happy, and what part Helsinki plays in it. Who wants to start?
I can start because I have the perfect answer to this question, which is my dog, my 1-year-old Nova Scotian duck-tailing retriever, with whom I go out on walks into the beautiful serene forest of East Helsinki, because there's literally this very big area that is naturally conserved. There's like beautiful birds and nature everywhere, and I have these like nice walks of like some 5-6 kilometers each day, and just relax, and over the weekends even longer walks. And it's right by the sea as well, so it's like super beautiful and so nice. And it's nice to get away from the hectic city center where I'm working like every day, and that's something that I would miss if I would be working in like a big metropolitan city that doesn't have a lot of nature around.
Thank you.
And
Maybe
I think,
maybe Nisha can go next.
No, I think I can add to it, like, bringing the dogs to work.
Yes.
That makes me really happy because I don't have a dog, but my colleagues, they bring their dogs to work, and I'm like, yes, that's happiness.
But you need to be careful with the people who are allergic.
Yes.
Yeah, but
you have to.
I mean, I'm not allergic, so I'm happy.
Okay, Nisha, let's
Yeah.
ask you.
I have a long list of things actually, like things that make me happy in Helsinki. Dogs that can come to work, that's definitely the top one. The transportation, like, commuting to work. When I was in India, I was kind of like spending an hour and a half, like just from my home to work, and then another hour and a half to back, So it's like 3 hours on the road. And here, it just takes like 40 minutes in total. So I'm like, I can even walk from my office to my home. So like commuting time, the work-life balance, again, it's another thing that makes me really happy. The hierarchy, there's no hierarchy at workplace. So you can really make your own decisions. Yeah. At least maybe I'm lucky one, but there's no hierarchy at work. So you can really make your own decisions. And you actually get the credit for the work that you do. So I think these things make me really happy. Of course, the time that I get after the work.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I have a lot of similarities as well. One of my happiest things is that I don't have to have a car. Growing up in Los Angeles, sitting in traffic my whole life in a car, it's nice to have really great transportation, whether it's the subway or the tram or a bus. You can get anywhere within the city. It's quite compact. Yet you're still, very close to the nature to get out and get some fresh air. So I would say that's probably one of the main things that makes me happy.
Yeah, but one thing that I miss about spending time in my car in traffic is the music that I was listening to.
Yes.
I mean, 1.5 hours of just listening to music,
Yeah.
nobody disturbing. Here I put on the headphones and then I'm at work.
There's an app. There's an app that you can use to play
Musician.
music.
Yeah.
Now, what makes me happy, I would say, in Finland, the biggest kind of happiness that I get is from paying a lot of taxes. But no, I think in general the Finns, we want to escape from the hectic kind of work life. So we do enjoy the silence. So a lot of Finns have kind of summer cabins. You mentioned nature. There's this every man's right in Finland that you can actually go and walk into a forest. The landowner won't come and kind of kick you out, so you can kind of camp and enjoy the nature there. So I think in general the Finns are people who enjoy silence, the lakes, and saunas, of course. So I think in a way that kind of is the kind of typical Finnish kind of person.
I can agree with all of it and probably put it more on top. Okay, thank you, Magnus. So moving on, you mentioned the taxes and they were mentioned before, and many people asked me even previously. So, we realized that with the salaries here and the taxes in Finland, actually the net salary for the professionals that you're looking for, probably the net salary is higher here. And the cost of living is higher in Finland than here. So what do you have to offer? Why should people move there?
That's a good question. I don't think no one likes to take a pay cut in a way, but I guess when you look at the big picture, I think that's kind of the key. relocating to another country, even if the salary was better there, it's always a huge thing for anyone to do. So I would say, like, just looking at Finland as a country and Helsinki as a city, I think if you're doing a relocation for the first time, I don't think there's a better city or a better country to actually do it. It's going to be so safe, it's going to be easy to kind of go through the process. But yeah, the money thing, of course, you know, I think it came up here quite a lot that you actually do get a lot from kind of paying taxes. So it's not like the money just is wasted. And I guess people in tech, I guess what drives you guys a lot also is the product that you would be working on. So what does the company do? What is the product? What are the kind of interesting, you know, work challenges that they throw at you? So I think it's a broader question than just like a amount of money.
Yeah, but I was asking musician, like each company. Well, what are you musician?
Oh, okay.
What do you offer? What do you have?
Well, we have a lot. So yeah, I would say that when we look at salary and compensation, so we have stock options. So everyone who joins the company gets a piece of the company as well. We do offer the relocation package, and then kind of the salaries. We look at what the current market is paying, what are people with similar experience in the team making. We have every year we have kind of salary checks. So you know, if everything has gone well, and then we can kind of raise the salaries accordingly. So and of course all the benefits, looking at from healthcare to, you know, November sun work retreat. So.
Oh yeah. What about Varjo?
Well, Varjo is actually one of the kind of best salary payers as far as my own empirical knowledge goes to at the moment in Helsinki and in Finland in general. So that's one thing. So like you end up getting a bit more money because we just pay a bit more now. Well, then there's the healthcare, like extra healthcare stuff, and there's possibility for like 7 days of training at Varjo. You can like spend how you want, and you can get some money for that as well to provide if you want to do like a Coursera course or buy a book or go to a conference. We can provide for that kind of stuff. But then there's just quality of life aspects, which is like, well, one day you might have a dog that needs to go for a long walk because they're very energetic. So then you're like maybe staying in the morning for a bit longer to take the dog out for a few hours walk, and then come to the office a bit later and stay a bit later. That's like fine. So you can do the work day as you want. You can have like 2 hours of not working in the middle of the day and then like keep working later, and you can have a shorter day, like 5 hours maybe one day, and next day you do like 10 hours. So it's like flexible as well. So that's nice, and there's a lot of trust that comes to this. I feel at Varjo, especially when everyone is working on like very specific things that they are like focusing on, then people just believe that okay, well, you are using your time in the best possible manner. So I think this is something also a bit special in terms of our company. But to be honest, at the moment we don't have super many like great fancy things that I can talk about, because I mean we just got HR last November, so it hasn't been around even for a year. But we've been putting up these things very quickly now, and this year we've come up with the develop program and launch benefits and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll just keep adding things on top of having this great product that you can get to work with.
Cool. So Ryan, now since you're doing the consulting,
Yes.
is there anything you can tell these guys they can add on their list?
No, I think they both highlighted it pretty well. It's really about offering as much flexibility as you can. That makes sense. So remote work when you need to, these types of things. Lunch benefits, culture, sports benefits, so kind of subsidizing the ability to go work out at the gym or go see an opera or a ballet. So just offering these types of extras goes a long way. And, you know, going back to the taxes, what I notice as well is, yes, taxes are quite high in Finland, and, you know, but what I notice coming from the US, which taxes, or at least sales taxes, are a bit lower. Income tax is about the same, but I actually have a lot more money at the end of the day in Finland because I'm not spending it on healthcare, I'm not spending it on car insurance, I'm not spending it on all these really extras. Education, yes. So that's something I think a lot of people should think about as well, is that, in the long run, you might be saving.
Okay, cool. And Nisha, was there anything not mentioned today that city of Helsinki or Finland can provide?
I think what Ryan just mentioned, all the things, the money that you're not spending on the things, I think that counts more than the money that you're actually paying in terms of the taxes. And in the end, the government is actually taking care of many things for you. Like if your spouse is not working, they also get the unemployment benefit. And the language courses that the government provides, they are also free of cost. So there are a lot of things that you actually get in addition to what you're actually paying to the government. And of course, like the pension benefits that you will get after you will stop working at a certain age. So the money that you're paying is all not lost. Sometimes you kind of think that why am I paying 1/3 of my salary for taxes? I mean, that's what I thought when I started working, but it's not something that's going totally to waste, but it's actually something that you're saving and you're actually getting a lot of benefits out of it. Plus it's the cleanest air in the world. I should mention that.
I think actually nobody mentioned, well, I missed lots of stuff, but there are lots of young people here, so you get the Kela box for newborn kids.
Oh yes,
yes.
The what is it called? The maternity box. Yes, yes. You get that as well. So
it actually has lots of stuff in there.
Yeah.
But actually, related to taxes, one comment I want to say is that yes, you pay a lot of taxes, but also Finland is the least corrupted country in the world. Hence, because we get enough taxes for the government, so the government doesn't need to be bribed. So for Finns, when you see a police officer, it's like the greatest thing. Like, oh, the police is here, I feel safe, I feel good. And I was talking to my friend who was not from Finland. It's like, what? I see the police, I'm afraid. I'm like, oh no, something bad could happen any time now. I'm like, what? But it's the police. Like, exactly. So this is like the kind of bubble you end up in when you're living in a country like Finland.
Yeah, and you feel really safe over there. I've heard a lot of questions about safety. So that money that you're putting into taxes, that actually is kind of making sure that you'll be feeling safe at the end of the day because of the social security benefits that people get. So there's less unemployment, less homelessness. I think I was just, there was this video on, I think LinkedIn somebody shared, which actually said that some study was conducted, and in the last 1 year, Finland has the lowest number of homeless people in the world. So and
just don't survive
50 plus people.
Sorry for the show.
But then the government actually provides them the beds as well. So yeah.
Okay, let's move on a little bit to recruitment.
Maybe one more quick thing about kind of the benefits and this. I would say that everyone who works in the tech industry, I think, are extremely lucky because the salaries and the benefits from the tech companies are usually much higher than in different kind of industries or different areas. So that's something that's it's a really good thing.
That's true. Yeah, so I would like to move on to recruitment because I think people might have questions here they haven't asked. My biggest question is because we work with companies for looking for tech talents, experience. So most of the clients are asking for 5+ or some cases 7+ years of experience. So I want to know, how do you measure experience? Because I remember many years ago when I was in the university, one of our professors said, well, in many cases, 10 years of experience, it's 1 year of experience repeated 9 times. And I think in many cases it's really true. So how do you measure experience? In your recruitment process?
Well, yeah, I've heard the same story, and as well the best job post is that you have to have 10 years of experience, low salary, and a PhD in something. But so recruitment, in a way, we're there to kind of make sure and qualify that the people we hire are that they can, first of all, they can do the job, they kind of fit the company, the kind of a cultural add, and all these things. But of course, it depends on the role. So if we're just talking about a developer, for example, the process is quite, quick and easy. So of course, we have to talk to the person that, hey, this person actually breathes and talks, and kind of communication skills. Then of course we want to dig deeper into the technical skills. So have a technical kind of assessment, a technical test, then kind of add on that with a technical interview, and then of course the hiring manager and the team that the person would be working with gets to interview this person and kind of dig deeper and see that.
So you have also peer interviews.
Yes. So at Usician we kind of have a democratic way of hiring people. So of course there's always a hiring manager, but the hiring manager kind of relies on the team, on the people around who that person would be working closely with. And they get a say in also the future colleague. So it's kind of a democratic way of hiring. So.
Yeah. And how long does it take for everybody later who will be answering that question? How long does it take, let's say, from application to the job offer or contract?
Well, now we as recruiters, we could lie and say it takes 2 days. But it depends on the role. The kind of a harder, role it is.
Yeah.
I think we all have targets that we wanna reach. If it's a local, we are looking at like around 30-35 days.
Okay.
If it's a relocation case, it's always a little bit longer. There's usually an extra step, but around 30 to 40 days is kind of a target that we want to set on ourselves, that we get things done.
Are you better agree?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
agree?
I mean, like 1 month is the thing that I'm focusing on. Personally, for me, how long it takes is very much correlated with how many open positions I have. So currently at Vario, I'm the only recruiter, and when I joined, we had 28 open positions. So it was like, I'm not gonna make any promises to anyone. Now I have like 10 open positions, and it's easier every day. But like trying to get things done, that sometimes it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, great, but other times it's several months because some people can't come to a conclusion about is this person the right fit or not.
Do you also talk to the whole team?
Yes, so yeah, we also have peer interviews, we also have a technical test. Usually it's like a code test that you do, and it's like it's not timed, so you can work on it for as long as you want, and it actually like tests how you work normally, and not like somebody sitting with you inside a room and looking at you code or do something like this, because that doesn't happen like in real life. So this is one way, and one reason why I also want to give chances to people that don't have this. I mean, because the company is looking always that people are saying like at least 8 years of experience, but I'm trying to look for people, maybe someone who has like a year of experience or 2 years of experience, if I feel that they have potential, because I try to remember that myself. I got to become a specialist after only having 1 year experience as an intern. So I'm like, well, they trusted in me, so I want to trust in everyone else as well, and keep that in mind. So then when you have the test, that's how you can prove yourself that, okay, well, I might just have 1 or 2 years of experience, but I'm actually more experienced beyond my years. Because it can be like this.
Of course, yes.
9 times 1, that was a funny story.
Yeah, but also like when Leili and I, when we're going through CVs, she says like, okay, this guy has 2 years of experience, or girl.
Yeah.
But the other one, he has 2 years of experience and he actually has a relevant education, so it adds kind of like 4 or 5 years. So it's like, even though it's not like a work experience, it's still like maybe 5 days a week coding, or maybe more. Yeah, I agree. Okay, Ryan, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just usually always try to advise my hiring managers like not to get stuck on the amount of years.
Yeah.
It's really about looking at kind of the assignments and stuff like that, the peer interviews. And I mean, of course, it depends on the level too of the role. So it's always important with hiring managers to really go through what are we actually looking for, what do we need, understanding the expectations in 3 months, 6 months, and a year to really then develop how much experience you actually need.
Okay, thank you. Nisha is a talent advisor. Anything to it?
I think from my experience as an executive search consultant, I would say that something that I have learned is that it really doesn't matter what education you had, because I have seen people in really high level jobs who didn't even complete their bachelor's. So I mean, it's really like experience matters, at least in Finland, as far as I know. You can be like at any level in education terms, but then if you really know your stuff, then you will get.
But I also noticed the other thing in Finland, they very often ask for master's or PhD. Well, I mean, in tech, PhD also could be. So I kind of like was surprised that they're so stuck on this, like master's degree, you must have it. I mean, come on.
I would say, maybe not most, but a lot of developers in Finland, I think, have started their studies but never actually finished them.
Yeah.
I think as a candidate, if you guys apply somewhere, I don't think you should be scared of first of all, the years of experience that they're asking for, or that if you haven't kind of finalized your studies, I would just apply, and nothing bad can happen.
Yeah, I recently, I know a guy who was relocated from Bangladesh. He hasn't even completed his bachelor's, but because he had the relevant experience, they actually relocated him all the way from Bangladesh. It took them 6 months, I think, but they did it.
Yeah, and if you have a bit less experience, one thing that really helps you out is if you do a good application letter, so you really tailor it to the company, because oftentimes I see these kind of dear hiring manager or dear sir or madam or something, and you can see that these are copy pasted. There is nothing that is relevant to the company, and I understand when you're doing a lot of these applications, that's how it goes. But if you spend the extra effort of hey, very interested in Vario because you're doing this human eye resolution mixed reality, and I saw from this and this thing on the internet that you're doing this and this, then it's oh cool, they've actually looked into us, and then we give you more time because of this, easily, because you stand out. And if you then for instance have something like a big GitHub or something else like ArtStation or whatever is it that you're working on, that where you can showcase your work that you've done for your studies or for a hobby or something, then that can help you leverage you up as well, even though you don't have the work experience, because some work experience you cannot even show what kind of code you've done, because that's secret, but the stuff you've done yourself you can show, and somebody can look into that and oh, good performance code, nice going. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Also, I noticed when looking for a job myself in Finland, quite often when they have an opening, they leave this is hiring manager or person in charge, phone number, you can call this time. So would you do that? I mean, would you put first of all as a hiring manager?
Well, if you had 27 roles open, if your phone would be ringing all the time.
No.
And would it give any credit to people who actually call?
Yes, if I give that possibility and you have actually something interesting to ask, or you're not just calling to call, but you
but
actually
it's actually if you have any questions about the position, you can call. But that's funny. I mean, why do you even have to mention it? Because you have to, if you have something to say about the position, it should be already there.
Yeah, but some people call. I've had this happen when I was working at a construction company as a recruiter. I have this call time, and they call and they're hello, I applied for the job. My name is this and this. Have you received my application? I'm yes. They're okay, great. I'm is there something else? No. I'm okay, this was an interesting call. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay.
But I think I'll mention here that at times the numbers are mentioned, and when the number is mentioned, if you have really something interesting to tell, Petri already mentioned, that you can mention it in your cover letter. But at the same time, if you want to mention something that is very specific, please call, because the number is mentioned there, and you can really make a point there.
Yeah.
And I think if the company has its, excuse my French, shit together on the recruitment side, then you probably will get a kind of automated reply straight away that your application has been received, and that what is the next step and when will the kind of next step happen, and then kind of move forward from there. So if the company knows what they're doing on the kind of recruitment and talent side, then it should move quite flexibly forward. So
Okay. Okay, I don't know how much time we have, probably none. But let's try to wrap up with this question. I heard some numbers last year at Slush. Maybe they are about US, maybe you can say if that's true or not. So, in the United States, the average time, it was a year ago, the average time for tech hire was 35 days. And they said it was pretty crazy. And according to some, the cost of losing a tech employee can range from tens of thousands to almost 2 times the annual salary of that employee. So what do you do to retain your talents? And was it correct, by the way?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess one thing that no one likes to see is like a hire gone wrong, or in the tech industry, kind of the retention. It's a tough game and war of talent. So I think the most important thing is that the company offers a kind of a personal growth plan for every person in the company. So we are all different. We all have good skills. We all have kind of bad skills that we need to improve on. So that there is some kind of personal growth, a plan for each one, and kind of have a path that person will kind of take. I think that's one big thing if you actually want to keep the person in the company, that you have this kind of a program in place. Another thing would be then, of course, that you can have really interesting projects, that you don't kind of box people in, that you listen to them, to what they want to kind of achieve, what they want to learn, and also give them the chance to actually, that you trust them, that they can actually do things that they are interested in. So giving that trust, giving that path, and then interesting projects for the people to work on. Boxing someone in, especially in tech, I think that's one of the kind of craziest thing that a tech company can do.
Great, thank you. Petri?
Yeah, so like possibility to move between projects or like different stages. So you can yourself say like, hey, I would like to focus my efforts a bit more, like let's say you're a computer vision developer and you want to start working a bit more on data science. Well, let's give you a bit more data science stuff and like machine learning, whatnot, instead of saying no, this is like the spot that we've chosen you for. And that's why it's also important to keep like hiring managers and managers in general like up to date. So give them some like training also on how to handle people, because oftentimes, especially in tech companies, managers maybe are not the best people like people persons, like managing people. They're really good at managing tech and projects, but maybe not people that well. So try to make sure that the relations stay well and good. And also like in the recruitment stage itself, I try to think about things like how much will this person have a chance to grow in this role? Is it like different enough? Is it exciting enough? Is the team fit good enough? Is the culture fit good enough? Let's say like if you worked for 20 years inside this very stiff or big corporation and you come to work to this company that's like growth stage 3 years, very chaotic. It's we must make sure that you are able to get outside of this box that you put yourself in the previous job. So thinking about these kind of things beforehand usually helps with the retention in the longer term.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that they both said. I would maybe add also, like when thinking about people relocating, it's really important for the company to provide, inclusiveness for these new hires. To one, provide maybe a Finnish class or an English class, or many times people are relocating with their spouses. And one of the huge problems is the spouse isn't able to find a job. So being the company helping them, the spouse find something or network or provide these services for them, so that we are retaining those who have relocated as well, because moving to a new country is always challenging. It can be lonely, and so making sure that a company is aware of that and providing these resources for those relocating.
Yeah, I also heard in terms of like inclusiveness, and that happens in Finland, I know by my own from my own experience, when people suddenly switch to Finnish, and like kind of like you're there, and I'm like, come on, like I feel like, I mean, I could block it out and it worked pretty well, but sometimes like people are not aware probably of it, and people who are from abroad and don't understand, they may be too shy to say something. But I think it's something good to be aware of, and like if they are around, maybe at least like ask, is it okay if we like continue in Finnish or something like that? Nisha, anything from your perspective?
From my perspective, I think people are quite aware, at least as far as I'm concerned, because I mean, wherever I have been, wherever I go, people actually automatically switch to English. I don't know why. I mean, they're having their own like private conversation, and then suddenly I walk in the kitchen and okay, everything is in English now. And, yeah, I'm included as well. And I think I would like highlight one of the points that Magnus mentioned in the hiring process. So and that also acts as a very good retention point where the whole team is involved in hiring. Because when you have that cultural fit, that actually works a long way when it also comes to retaining the talent. And it's not just the US, which is where the companies are losing the money. Everywhere the companies lose money.
Yeah, it's just the stats.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all important.
I had another question just because you mentioned the peer interviews. Do you kind of like prepare the colleagues who are not like from HR or recruitment how to do the interviews? Like how to or do they have like complete freedom?
No, I think it's important to have structured interview process for your team, and so to make sure that you may have a lot of people who've never interviewed before, so you don't want to put them in a situation where they're asking the wrong question or something inappropriate or anything like that, but also to make sure that like everyone in that interview process has a role. And what am I trying to find out, whether it's through the experience or the work that this person has done, so that also not everyone is asking the same question and you leave the interview with one reference point. So I think it's really important to make sure that in these peer interviews that the people you're putting with the candidate are kind of knowledgeable in the interview process and what the company is looking for.
Thank you. And I guess maybe the final question from me, if your people go, like what's the main reason, if you know? Like is it because they're going because they want to grow further, because they want to change field, or it's not, I don't know, they got to grow now?
I mean, I think it depends a lot. I mean, every case is different. You know, it could be about money. It could be about opportunities. It could be taxes.
So they earn too much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, it's really important then for the managers to really be having one-on-ones with their employees to understand what are motivating factors and how people are feeling, and making sure that the company's on top of these things, and that it's not at the last minute when a really great employee is leaving that you're like, oh, that's why. So I think it could be a variety of reasons. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, guys. All questions from me. I have more, but maybe on the way back. I don't know what to Chernobyl tomorrow. Yeah, so they're yours.
Question. We were talking a lot about work, but there is also work and life. So talking about life, spins for foreigners. How is it easy for you guys to make a friend, Ukrainian or another one? Is there a chance to become a part of community in Finland, or foreigners are normally a little bit distanced? It depends from nationality. Some nationalities are pretty okay with foreigners, some are more close. So what about Finns, and what is the culture about that in the company? Are they forced as workers to talk to each other, or it's like how it's happening up there? Thanks.
Well, at Musician, first of all, it's English only at the office, and it's 60% like expats. So we're kind of the minority there. In general, Finns are, I think we are easy to approach, but we might be super quiet and kind of hold back. But after a few beers and especially on the weekend, I think with a Finnish person, once you get that kind of trust, it takes a little time to warm up. But once you get that trust, I think you have like a friend for life in a way. That we do really take friendship kind of serious, but it takes time to warm up to the thing. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a
Yeah, from my point of view, having worked in these international working environments, it's just like something that naturally happens, that there starts to become this community. For instance, at Remedy, at Remedy we actually were creating these events every month or so for the expats to go and do this kind of Finlandization. So they would go to sauna, or they would go to the forest to pick up some berries and whatnot, like do some Finnish things. And so they do some, like, they get to know the culture, but they also get to know each other, and that's why like there's like very strong community at Remedy. And when people get to like know each other and have friends, and then they can have their friends, and that's how you start like getting to know people. But obviously it's easiest to start from my point of view. I mean, you probably can answer this much better, but like starting at your workplace from your colleagues, and then working up from there, instead of going to the bar and saying like, hello, I've just moved in, do you want to be my friend, It's pretty difficult in this day and age. But then there's like meetups and stuff like that. You can go to, say, a board game meetup if you're into board games, and then meet people through that way. But
also expat meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think every office should have Cards Against Humanity at the office. So
Yes.
Yes.
Start,
Do you have?
start now. Yes.
Can I come? Do you have a Disney version?
No.
But
Can you tell how often people switch jobs in Finland and why?
Well, why? Like Ryan pointed out, it's always a different kind of a case by case. There might be many reasons. I would say we're probably looking at 2.3, 2.5 years, but it depends. But 2 to 3 years, I would say, in tech, probably in Finland.
And then there are those serial switchers who just want to switch jobs, who don't want to stay at a place. But those are exceptional cases. Most of the times the job satisfaction is quite high. So I know people, they have stayed in the same company, not in the same job. They keep on changing departments in the same organization. So like even 10 years, but they have been doing different things in the same company. So it totally depends, and the reasons are always different for changing the jobs.
Did you want to, by the way, comment on the getting to know people? Like I actually want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, you guys are the...
Yeah.
Yes.
We should answer that.
I think the point which was mentioned here, where some Finn at the workplace and just doing their work, and you can't really expect them to talk something. They really respect your personal space. That is the answer that you will get from them, and I think that's true also. So if somebody is a Finn and is not really talking to you, it's not because they don't want to. It's just because they respect your personal space. They know that you deserve some silence and peace in your life, which they also kind of quite respect. So yeah, it's very friendly and very accommodating. Like I said, then they automatically switch to English when I'm around. So you can really make good friends.
Yeah, I would just add that, moving to a new culture is always challenging, and it's usually on you to really kind of put yourself out there. And I think a good way is, finding hobbies that you really are passionate about, and, going to those. What's great about Finland is, there's a hobby for everything that you can think of. And so, going there and meeting people who share that same kind of passion with you is a really great way to make friends and stuff like that. Yeah.
And you can actually go for hunting. There are people who go for hunting in Finland. I mean, I wouldn't do that in India.
Well, when I moved to Finland, because I love traveling, so my community was couch surfers. Yeah, I was like, great. But then I kind of got sick of it, but like when you meet the same people, but then travelers come in and they keep saying the same stories all over again. I was like, okay, I already heard it 10 times. Yeah, but...
I have a question. What do you think about switchers, people who change our sectors, for example, from veterinary medicine to IT technology?
So you mean that you come from a different background into kind of the tech industry?
Yeah. What do you think about these people?
I guess the most important thing I think is kind of the background does play a huge role. That if we look at hiring for tech companies, as recruiters we usually look at, okay, what companies has this person worked for, so that we kind of know that what have they been doing. Is it like app development? Is it similar tech stack that we are using? So of course those kind of things matter, but as long as there is kind of a similarity or like a red line that actually kind of correlates to the job that you're applying to, it doesn't have to match like 100%. If you look at like product management or something, you can have an experience in a totally different industry and kind of transfer that over. But if it's like a really specific, let's say you need a Python developer and you come from an ice cream store, that might be a more difficult thing. But as recruiters, I think we look at the whole picture of your background.
And I would just add that I think it's important that if you are someone who's switching, that you're open to maybe starting at a more junior level in that new area. And I think what you find in tech is that you can move up pretty fast once you've started at that junior level. So just having kind of setting those expectations that, in your previous industry or role, you might have been more senior, but in going to your new one, it might be a little bit more junior role.
Yeah, what I actually like about Finland is like tech is very developed, or develops very fast, but they nowadays like have these companies that kind of like skill boosters, or like the ones who help you. For example, you're out of job because your job is not needed anymore, kind of like automated or stuff. So they actually teach you the skills. You have to take time for that, like 6 to 9 months, for example, to learn Python or something. But this learning lend you to a junior position in a company, and then you can develop further from there. I think this is pretty great stuff.
And I find like people that change industries to be a blessing. My favorite story to tell is this person that like I found they applied, and I was looking, okay, this person, they're still in school, like they haven't even done their bachelor's yet. I mean, 2 years, and they haven't even got any like professional experience working as a coder. And then I'm looking at their CV, and they used to be like a musician, like working at like this orchestra, actually like a symphony orchestra. And they've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and what's up with this? And then I look at the cover letter and it says like, well, music didn't pay well enough, and like I wanted to do something else, and musicality and coding, I felt like there's some similarities, so I started learning this. And hey, here's my GitHub, check this out. So I give the GitHub to my colleague who's a coder, and they are like, oh, this is really good code. So we ask them over, and they like end up slaying it, and we end up hiring them. And they brought in these ideas from like the orchestra and how it's like set up in say like Scrum meetings, like some really outside of the box thinking that like no one else comes up with, but like yes, well, but the violinist and blah blah are working with this, it's like similar to this, and then like it's really cool, the kind of stuff you can come up with when you have people from different backgrounds coming together.
More questions?
Okay, I have a question. We all hear about how Finland is great and all this stuff, but I want to ask, what's doing your company? Why you should be interested for us, this kind of way? Because I'm curious, I came like half an hour ago. So
yeah.
we was talking only about Finland, how it's great, how taxes is crappy and all this stuff, but I want to know about your companies, about your projects and all this stuff, because it's more interesting for me because I'm here to making games, but I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Finland. I'm not my first point at all not to move into Finland. My first point, I want to make games. So tell me about your companies.
That was in the beginning.
Yeah,
I missed
actually
it.
you missed the part
Yeah.
where they were all discussing
Yeah.
about their products in the
Yeah.
beginning, so everybody almost spent like 15 minutes to half an hour.
Okay, sorry.
So you can check
talking about-
websites.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think they'll share the presentations.
And we had webinar which
Yeah.
was recorded and it's on the website too. And there they also presented themselves and what they do, like shortly. Anybody else?
But maybe from what you were saying, I was kind of thinking that you're going to ask another question. That we've been painting a beautiful picture of Finland and everything is perfect. That that you were going to ask that what's really bad about
Yeah.
Finland
Yeah, actually,
and
yes.
Helsinki.
Yeah.
Let's answer that.
There's one story that comes to my mind. So I hired a Brazilian guy, and we all know that Brazilians are quite talkative, energetic, and comes from a different kind of a spicy culture. And I remember after he had been in Helsinki then for a while, he said that everything works, everything is fine, everything happens like on the second, on the minute when it's supposed to happen. It's easy, everything is good, but there's no soul. He was kind of missing, and I kind of understood what he was trying to say, that there's no soul in the kind of Finnish thing. So I guess that's the biggest negative thing I have kind of come up.
Yeah, because you have to find the soul from the nature.
Or did he make any Finnish friends by the time?
Yeah, he did.
Actually, about Finnish friends, when you talk when you make a friend, it's for life. I think Finns they have one word for friend in Finnish language, and they have so many for swamp. I don't know. But you have ystävä, but kaveri. Okay, but that's not so close. But in Russia, we very often do not use friend, but we use acquaintance. In Finland, it's kind of doesn't exist. It's either we don't know you or you're a friend.
It's a stranger or a friend.
Yeah.
And I think to add to that point where you say that it has no soul, I think coming from the Indian background where people talk all the time and they're sometimes over talkative, Finland doesn't have the culture of small talk as mentioned by a Finn. So I mean they talk, but they won't be talking all the time to you. So if it's business, let's talk about it. If it's not, I'm gonna go have a drink and then I'll talk. Yeah, basically like that. But
I mean, for me, maybe what's hard is from October to May. Coming from Southern California where it's sunny and warm all the time, the Finnish long winter is quite challenging.
But musician did take you to several
Yes,
retreats.
exactly. So it's a nice perk to be able to go in the kind of darkest month somewhere warm and tropical.
the hardest part is walking on the ice.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part.
Yeah.
I can't even think of anything right now. Too much positivity. No, there's definitely something, but
Yeah. I mean, I can only think of positive things when I have to think about it, but then when I actually think about a difficult situation, I would say that walking on the black ice, that is something that scares me off. Like, I would have used that word, but yeah, it scares me off.
anybody else?
Well,
Okay.
final question. After all the interviews you had here, what is overall your impression? Is there any gaps, like general, that Ukrainians can improve in terms of communication skills or other skills? Is there some kind of easy tricks which can be fixed by those who've been interviewed for you to become more interesting job applicant?
Well, from my point of view, I actually found all my talks to be like super easy, like scarily easy. Usually there's a bigger like cultural kind of shift. Now I felt like I would be talking to Finns, but like in English, I don't know. Like, it might be just the people I was talking to, but I was really happy. And like, a lot of people were saying like, oh, my English is not so good, but it was actually really good. So don't worry about it, but keep working on it if you feel like it. I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's just like working on speaking English and learning that, because then when you get that on a certain level, then you're just confident, and then like everything good happens afterwards.
Overall, I think Ukraine has good talent. There's a lot of good talented people in Ukraine. Regarding the language, it's something that the more you speak it, the more you use it, the better you get. There's a lot of examples, I bet you've seen it as well, that you hire someone, the person joins, relocates, and during the interview process, the English hasn't been like super good, but still like good enough that you can communicate. And then 3-4 months later, when that person is in the environment where he hears and uses English all the time, you go and talk to the guy and he's like super good at English. So the kind of the learning curve for the language, it happens really quickly. So I don't think no one should be kind of like afraid of not being able to speak that good English. It happens naturally. And everyone we talked to today, I thought was really good. So.
I would recommend, like when I moved myself, like I had very good English training in the university because it was required, but then I didn't use English for maybe 2 years, and I kind of like lost it. I went to India and I couldn't like say like simple things like in English, and then I moved here and I started watching television. Well, not Finnish television, but like general like series, movies in English. It just like rocketed. Really helps. That was like the question you asked before. From Tia, how come that English can speak so good English, and not just English actually, but many languages. I think this is one of the criteria, that the television is not dubbed and they're exposed to many languages. Really helps. So, should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Time's up? Long time ago?